You have been told that wealth is built by entrepreneurs, by people who quit their jobs, took the risk, started the company, and got lucky. That if you stay employed, stay in the salary trap, you will never build anything that matters. That is not what Scripture teaches. And the man who financed the rebuilding of an entire nation, Nehemiah, did not own a business. He had a salary. He worked for someone else. He served in a foreign palace as the cupbearer to a king. And from that exact position, he built one of the most ambitious construction projects in ancient history and changed the trajectory of his entire people. By the end of these 8 minutes, you will know exactly how he did it, and the 3 principles you can apply this week from inside your own salary, your own job, your own current position. Most teaching about Nehemiah focuses on the prayer, the fasting, the tears he cried when he heard about Jerusalem. All of that is true, but it is incomplete, because Nehemiah did something most people in our generation are never taught to do. He turned his salaried position into a launching pad, not a prison. Most professionals view their job as the thing that prevents them from building, the reason they cannot start, the constraint they need to escape before they can do anything meaningful. Nehemiah viewed his salaried position as the platform from which he would build. He did not quit his job to follow his calling. He used his job to fund his calling. He stayed in the palace. He kept the salary. He maintained the relationships. And from that exact position, he engineered one of the largest restoration projects of the ancient world. That distinction is everything. And what we are about to break down is the part most modern Christians have never been taught. Nehemiah was the cupbearer to King Artaxerxes of Persia. This was not a low-level job. The cupbearer was one of the most trusted positions in the ancient royal court. He tested the king's wine for poison. He had the king's ear. He saw who came and went. He knew the political dynamics of the entire empire. It was a salaried position with extraordinary access. When news reached him that Jerusalem was in ruins, Nehemiah did not abandon his post. He did not resign in righteous anger. He did not declare that his salary was beneath his calling. He prayed for 4 months. He waited for the right moment. And when the king finally noticed his sadness, Nehemiah was ready. Nehemiah chapter 2 verse 4. The king said to me, "What are you requesting?" So I prayed to the God of heaven, and I said to the king, "If it pleases the king, send me to Judah, that I may rebuild it." Read that verse carefully. Nehemiah did not ask the king for permission to leave his job. He asked the king to fund his project from the resources of the empire. He requested timber from the king's forest. He requested letters of safe passage. He requested authority to draw on the royal treasury. The king said yes to all of it, because Nehemiah had built years of trust before he ever made the ask. In the ancient Near East, a request of that magnitude required relational equity that took decades to accumulate. Nehemiah had been faithful in his salaried position for so long that when the moment came, the resources of an empire were available to him. The modern professional needs to hear this clearly. Your current job is not the obstacle to your calling. It is the soil where the funding for your calling is being grown. There are 3 specific principles Nehemiah used to turn a salaried position into a nation-rebuilding force. Principle 1. He built capital before he built anything visible. Most people want to build the visible thing first: the business, the platform, the brand. Nehemiah built something invisible for years before he built anything visible. He built relational capital, financial capital, reputational capital, years of trust accumulating quietly inside a position that looked, from the outside, like a salaried job. When the moment came to build the walls of Jerusalem, the materials were waiting because the relationships were already in place. The modern parallel is precise. The professional who is trying to launch the side business, fund the property purchase, build the equity stake, but has not first built the financial position from which to launch, is starting empty. Nehemiah did not start empty. He started with years of accumulated trust, savings, and access. The salary was not the trap. The salary was the slow accumulation of resources he would later deploy. This week, identify what capital you are quietly accumulating from your current salary. Not just money, skills, relationships, reputation, industry knowledge. Any of these can become the launching pad for what comes next. That is Principle 1. Principle 2. He used the system. He did not fight the system. This is the principle that broke open everything for me when I first understood it. Nehemiah was working for the same Persian Empire that had destroyed Jerusalem in the first place. Most people in his position would have viewed Persia as the enemy, the system that ruined his people, the thing to escape, oppose, or denounce. Nehemiah did not see it that way. He saw Persia as the empire that now had the resources to rebuild what it had destroyed. So, he stayed inside the system. He earned a position of influence within the system, and then he used the system's own resources to fund the restoration of his people. He requested timber from the royal forest. He requested protection from the royal army. He requested authority from the royal scribe. Every resource he needed for the rebuilding came from the very system most people would have told him to leave. This is exactly what old money has done for centuries. They do not waste energy fighting institutions. They master the institutions and use the institutions to fund their own building projects. The professional who spends their career complaining about their company, their industry, their economic system, is making the opposite of Nehemiah's decision. The professional who learns the system thoroughly enough to deploy it for their own purposes is making Nehemiah's decision. This does not mean compromising your principles. Nehemiah never compromised his faith or his identity. He simply refused to let his disagreement with the system stop him from using its resources. This week, identify one feature of your current employer, your industry, or your economic environment that you have been resisting. Stop resisting it. Learn how to deploy it for your own building project. That is Principle 2. Principle 3. He moved fast once the resources were in place. For 4 months, Nehemiah prayed. For years before that, he served. Building, accumulating, positioning. Patient. But the moment the king said yes, the moment the resources were granted, the moment the window opened, Nehemiah moved with stunning speed. He arrived in Jerusalem. He inspected the walls at night, alone, so no one could oppose him before he had a plan. He gathered the people. He distributed the assignments, and the entire wall was rebuilt in 52 days. 52 days for a project that had defeated his people for 100 years. Patience first, then speed. Most people in our generation get this exactly backwards. They move fast at the beginning, before the foundations are in place, and then become impatient when the visible results do not match the speed of their early movement. Nehemiah understood that the years of patient accumulation were what made the 52 days of rapid execution possible. The modern parallel is the professional who has been quietly building for years inside a salaried position, accumulating capital, relationships, knowledge, savings, and is now waiting for the right moment to deploy. When that moment comes, they will move with speed that surprises everyone around them, because the patience was the preparation. This week, ask yourself one question. Are you in the patience phase, or are you in the execution phase? Both are valid. Both are necessary. But you cannot skip the first to reach the second. That is Principle 3. Nehemiah was a salaried employee in a foreign government. He had no business of his own, no platform, no followers, no personal wealth that anyone would have called significant. But he understood what almost no one in our generation understands: that the salaried position, used correctly, is the most powerful launching pad in the modern economy. He built capital before he built anything visible. He used the system rather than fighting it. He waited patiently and then moved with speed when the moment arrived, and the city he rebuilt with the resources of an empire still stands as one of the most remarkable construction projects in history. You are Nehemiah. You are the one whose salary is funding something larger than the salary itself. You are the one being asked to build capital before you build anything visible. You are the one being asked to learn the system, deploy the system, and move with speed when the moment arrives. Stay in the position, build the capital, move when the window opens. In the next video, we open the wealth strategy of another biblical figure who built generational fortune from an unlikely starting position. Subscribe. Stay close. Throne of Wealth.